Hello and welcome to episode 9 of The Dugout. I'm your host, Laurie, and I'm joined by my two regular co-hosts or assistant coaches, if you will, Alexander Cruikshank and Ian Barlow. First of all, Alex, how are you?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. Happy to be back here again, recording with you. I just like talking about football, and it's fun, and I hope people enjoy listening to us ramble.
Yeah, I'm sure they do, and of course we do just love rambling away about football on this pod, let's not lie. Although unfortunately you're in, well, less sunny climes now, you're back on home soil, Alex.
Yeah, yeah. It was a good holiday, but it's good to be back. You like coming home, so it's good.
Yeah, it's always a relief to get home. And Ethan, how are you?
Hi, I'm doing well. Just would be better if Celtic had some interesting news to talk about. But there's always brilliant football news elsewhere, as we will talk about. And that, how's yourself, Laurie?
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you for asking, Ethan. But yeah, it's been pretty good. I mean, my team, of course, Kilmarnock have a wee bit of news in an area where Celtic probably do need some work in the goalkeeping department. But yeah, I'm pretty good. Just of course well, hoping that Spain do everyone in Scotland a little favour on Sunday. And for anyone that has me on Twitter, I do apologise for jinxing Memphis Depay yet again. 'Cause got a photo with his shirt when I was younger, then went and bought his shirt in the Man United shop, reposted that photo the other night, and then he was terrible, and then got subbed off after like half an hour in the games in Netherlands and England. So yeah,
Yeah, in that game, actually, I thought, well, he did come off with an injury, but it was a change that I think had to be made because they were getting overrun in the midfield. I
yeah,
thought Joey Veerman brought some stability and they squeezed England and the game got a bit slower because England were um, really playing really well. I thought we saw the best
yeah,
of a few players. Phil Foden was brilliant. I thought in the first half, but that I think that change really squeezed the game for them and made it not as exciting to watch, but the Netherlands controlled it a bit more. Um,
yeah.
but of course, England managed to get through in the end. Well, I don't know, maybe it's just because I'm Scottish, but I think it's somewhat controversially because I don't think that was a penalty.
That is nothing to do, right. I'll see what you think as well, Ethan, but I don't think that has anything to do with us being Scottish. Anyone thinks that's a penalty, genuinely think that's a penalty, let us know. Get in touch on Twitter at the Dugout 2024 if you seriously think that's a penalty. Because even from watching the TV, even Gary Neville called it a disgrace. And that's a ex-England defender. I thought it was pretty good defending from Denzel Dumfries, the Dutch fullback. But it was one of these ones where, granted, I, for obvious reasons, don't have any experience playing as such, but it looked like, if anything, Harry Kane kicked him. I thought.
Yeah,
But
sorry, I'll just jump in quickly. You mentioned Gary Neville there. I thought it was quite funny. He was calling it a disgrace. And Ian Wright, the attacker, was defending the decision. I just thought that was quite funny to see how
yeah,
different players look at it in different perspectives. But yeah, Ethan, just what's your thoughts on the penalty there? Just jumped in front of you.
No, I don't think that's ever a penalty. I don't really know what you expect Denzel Dumfries to do. He's got to go for the ball, and unlike Ryan Porteous, where he had to go for the ball, he hasn't really made much contact. That obviously there is contact, but there always is going to be contact when he's trying to block a shot. And I think he has tried to block the shot and no more than that. And it's very unfortunate it's given in the end and a major turning point in the game.
yeah, it
Hmm.
really did change the game, and put it into England's favour because they were, at least I thought, the better side. And you just have Phil Foden. He could have probably realistically had a hat trick. He had two huge chances, and then there was the one that was that didn't quite cross the line. Um, so yeah, and England will be up against Spain in the final, who you could argue have been the best kind of team or unit in the tournament. Of course, they played the night before, so what was that on Tuesday night? As we record this against France, ended up winning 2-1. And what you could argue was actually one of the games of the tournament, kind of what you hope a game with, two bigger nations is going to be like.
Yeah, definitely. Um, I thought I actually really enjoyed watching that game. But I think Spain showed their quality, just the fact that well they went behind, but then they took control, and I think they're I'm not trying to make big claims already, but there was a point in the match, well, 2 points in the match that really sort of summed it up for me. And it was so Yamal obviously scored a beautiful goal, right?
Yeah.
And then it was late on in the game, and Mbappe got maybe a bit closer, but similar range, and just blasted it into Rose Ed. And for me, that was like a significant point of the star players turning up for their team, and Yamal did. And I don't think Mbappe has really showed much this tournament. In France, was that their first goal from open play?
Yes, it
Uh,
was.
uh-huh. So yeah, it was really. I thought it was a good game, yeah. But I think Spain deserved to be there, and I think I also just want to touch on Dani Olmo's goal, just the touches before it, to send the defender was incredible, and I think Spain are a really really strong team going into this final.
Well, I mean, Spain have been excellent and a joy to watch in the tournament, which can't be said for many of the teams. To be fair, a lot of the teams in this tournament have been quite dull affairs. I mean, England are a prime example. I mean, other than maybe the game against the Netherlands, England have been quite tough to watch, haven't they, lads?
Yeah, I'd agree with that definitely.
Yeah. Um, I was thinking. I had the thought in my head of a kind of team of the tournament, and I was thinking, despite England getting to the final, what other players would actually get into a team of the tournament? And not many come to mind, really. Any standout performers? I know Bellingham and Kane have got some major goals for them, but they've both been pretty dull performers out with their goals. But obviously, goals is what wins you games. But other players have been brilliant for the majority of matches. Spain's attack comes to mind.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And you want
Um, all right, yeah. Although I think there is one player that stands out to me from England, just from the maybe stats aren't the best on paper, but just from watching him and seeing how he's been impacted every game has been Bukayo Saka. I think he's been their best player. Just the runs. He's so direct and he can cut inside. He's such a danger. I think it was Switzerland that goal he scored.
Yeah,
yeah.
Beautiful finish from him. I think in the final he could be really important. Going up, going up against Mark Cucurella, who for some reason has turned into a world class player over the course of this tournament. It's really, really strange, Like I just saw things saying like, when did Mark Cucurella decide to become a good footballer again? It's because he's stint at Chelsea. I guess I'll say it's been less than perfect, um, which might be an understatement, but yeah, I think that'll be an important battle, definitely. If we just want to dive into just talking about the final, we've sort of segued into it. I would just go through some points that I kind of think. I think England. they definitely picked up their performance against the Netherlands. I think they'll need to step it up again and bring that intensity. Phil Foden will need to be at his maximum. I think how England beat Spain is them just using their attacking players to just put it on them and just really, really go for it. I think England maybe have the capacity and the physicality to be a bit more intense than Spain. I don't know if that's just that. Maybe it's some falling into like a football stereotype. You know, the Spanish play beautiful football, and that's not really been the style of the Spain squad either, though. But because I think if I go back to the group stages, there was they had less possession than Croatia, but they beat them 3-0. But that was like the first time in like 160 odd games they'd had less possession than a team
Yeah,
they'd played against.
yeah,
So
and
I think Spain are changing as well, and they've been really good in this tournament. They've really impressed me. They've looked like the winners from the get go. To be honest, England have sort of scraped through. Like I said, they showed their quality in the game against the Netherlands, but it's a toss up. I think it really could go either way. Although I do think Spain will prevail with the players they have. They've got is Danny Carvajal back?
yeah,
I
just a
think
one
he
Yeah,
is,
match
yeah.
suspension for him.
Yeah.
yeah. So I think he's super important. He's been one of their best players over the past couple of years, and I think he's getting the recognition he finally deserves, being consistently one of the best right backs in the world for the better part of a decade. You know, um, Mark Cucurella already mentioned. Danny Olmo has been brilliant, although he hasn't always started. He will be starting, I'm assuming, because of Pedri's injury, unfortunate injury. Oh, see Pedri, it's such a shame. He's been ran into the ground before he could get going, just because he was so good, so young. I hope they don't do the same to Lamal. Um,
Yeah, if they do the same to Yamal, it would be.
Yamal, sorry, I get the
I'm gonna say Lamal was quite cool. We've almost amalgamated his name together, but
Lamine Yamal. There we go.
there you go.
But
That
yeah,
that
but
name is that's one of the names that you could say back to front and get away with it. It's very kind of like
yeah,
that.
it's quite fluid, isn't it?
Yeah.
You can, but you've got Wico Williams as well. Nah, does that one not work?
No.
Not
But
quite as seamlessly. No.
he's really good as well. So direct, quick, energetic. He's got the skills to back it up. Um, but I think Spain are there to be got at with the attacking quality England obviously have as well. But yeah, I think though it all comes down to the middle, who controls the middle of the park. Is it that trio of Rodri, Fabian Ruiz, and Dani Olmo, who have all been excellent? Or will it be the England midfield with Kobe Mainu started the semi, didn't he?
Yeah.
So would
Yeah.
think he'll be in there with Declan Rice and Jude Bellingham. It's I think that will be where it's won and lost in my opinion. But I think we're looking we're set up for neutrals. Well, maybe we're not neutrals, but for neutrals, it's setting up to be a really entertaining final, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. Looking forward to it as well. I imagine that applies for you as well, Ethan.
Yeah, I think it will be a very interesting game. Obviously, Alex mentioned the Spain kind of stereotypical tiki taka, which has went out the window this tournament. And surprisingly enough, England have actually averaged more possession than Spain have, which probably tells you in itself what the kind of change of guard at Spain. But they've been brilliant, and I think they have been by far the best team. And I do believe if they show up and play how they have been, I think they will have too much for England. But England have shown they know how to grind out results under Southgate, and especially in this tournament, not playing their best. but they do seem to be getting better as the tournaments got on. The kind of change of system with the kind of five back with Saka dropping in, and it's kind of maybe even helped them even more. And I think it will
Yes,
get Spain
can I
again.
just jump in as well, talking about the five back? I think that's unleashed Kyle Walker also. You know, if you watch see the Netherlands the first half, you wouldn't think he was played right centre half. You know, he was so far forward, and it just gave him a license because he had cover. And I think he's definitely a crucial player as well. He looked like Kyle Walker again. I see, although, and it's amazing to me how, like, what is he, like 33 now,
Yeah,
and
something like that.
Probably.
he's still like bombing up and down, and he's still got the pace and the physical ability, and he defy he because like fullbacks maybe they get to that age and their legs start to go. I know it's not a comparison in terms of like level of quality, but James Tavernier, I think we've noticed if we just want to compare it to the Scottish game, his legs have started to go a little bit, when he was always capable of going up and down that side. You maybe see him like struggling to get back to defend a few times. Oh, but Kyle, sorry to jump in front of you there, Ethan, but Kyle Walker, within that five back, looks like he's back to his best.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Sorry,
well,
Laurie, were you going to say something there?
I was my apologies. But basically, yeah, Kyle Walker and indeed the change the system has been key for Southgate. And also, there's been talk about him using his subs and not using them very effectively throughout the tournament. But he did. He used them to great effect the other night, bringing Ollie Watkins on. I was actually a little bit confused at his sub at first. 'Cause he took off. Was it Kane and Saka? I think it was. And I kind of wondered what he was playing at. But but I tell you what, I mean, if I were English, which clearly I'm not, I certainly wouldn't be complaining at it now.
Yeah, I think yeah, he has got the big sub he made. He got right, and that's what he gets his money for at the end of the day, getting the right calls when the people sitting on their couches at home aren't getting paid to manage the team. So you can say what you like about Southgate and whether he's done enough with this generation England team, but he definitely got his subs right on that occasion. And I think to Alex's point about Walker getting the best out of him in that formation, I agree. But I do think, obviously, Kyle Walker provides the natural kind of right footer for crosses on the right side with Bukayo Saka cutting in on his left. But I think we need that on the other side with Luke Shaw. With Kieran Trippier, he's a bit limited to go, obviously, as a right footer playing at left back or left wing back. He can't really get down to the byline and get those crosses in. And I think he might bring Luke Shaw in for his first start. Um, he's played quite a lot of minutes over the last two games, so I could see Luke Shaw coming in and providing that natural left footer on the left.
Yeah, and on Luke Shaw, he's been so unfortunate with injuries throughout his career. But when you see him at his best, you do see he is a truly like world class footballer. I don't know if anyone to disagree with me on that one, but I think that's true. When Luke Shaw's playing at his best, he's fully fit. You know, he is one of the best left backs in the world, and um, he's versatile as well. Obviously, he can play centre half, but I think I agree with Ethan. I think Southgate will bring him in to start the final, and I think he will bring that balance. And if he's on it, he will be crucial, and he'll be a very important part of England's game plan.
Absolutely. I mean, I certainly don't disagree with that. Luke Shaw is someone who you do always feel for because he's been incredibly unlucky throughout his career with injuries and arguably mismanagement at times as well. I mean, I always remember when he had that horrible leg break in the Champions League for the Man United. And that's where you feel like it's all really started from. And then obviously a few years later, when I say mismanagement, I want to say that he and Jose Mourinho had a few differences at one point where Alex, I think Jose would disagree with you and that he's world class, but I'm with you when Luke Shaw was fit and firing, I mean, it'd be hard to find a better left back in the EPL at least, and he certainly would be up there for the world best.
Yeah, and if you like, I think if you go back, you just have to look at the last Euros, how good he was. Yeah, I know he scored in the final, I think, if my memory serves, but
Yeah,
I
he
think
gave
throughout
it.
that,
He gave England the lead. Yeah.
yeah, but throughout that tournament, he was brilliant. Um, and yeah, you do feel for him, but I think he will play, and I think he will be important. But is there any other points anyone wants to bring up about the game before we move on to a wee cheeky score prediction?
No, not in particular. Just that I've got some maybe bad news that I've just seen there. That, that unfortunately there won't be a 16-year-old running rings around England.
Because
What is he? Is he out?
it's his birthday on Saturday, isn't it, or tomorrow?
Ah,
God bless.
Laurie's caught
Oh,
on.
you've actually, you've done me there.
Yeah.
Oh, oh, and another. Sorry, I just want to throw this in there. A wee fact that Ethan brought to my attention for any basketball fans out there. Um, Lamine Yamal, there we go, is
Yeah.
actually younger than LeBron James's youngest son, Bryce,
Oh.
which is crazy to me because you don't like me and Ethan enjoy watching basketball, and you don't really think that, do you? When you told me that, I was like, whoa, that puts into perspective how young he is. But yeah, you nearly had me there, Ethan. I thought you would. I was gutted for him. But yeah, let's move on to a score prediction. I'm going for 2-1 to Spain. I think England will score, but I think Spain will have too much.
All right. So, um, you know what? I'm gonna just not be bad at anything already. I'm gonna copy you, Alex. 2-1 Spain, but I think I think it is gonna be tight. I could see it possibly with the extra time.
Yeah.
Ethan?
Yeah, I agree as well. I know it's the boring
Oh,
scoreline.
God. All right, I'm
Spain,
switching it up. Four
Spain to
each.
England won. I think I think it's a safe scoreline to go for. Um, I think it'll be a tight game. You've seen in the last few games how Spain have kind of got ahead and then they've kind of slowed down a little bit and nearly cost them against France and Germany in the end. And I think it'll be that kind of similar style, but I think they will get the better England. And you might not even want to take this England team to penalties. I know England have got that tradition where they're poor at penalties, but this team look like they've got a few boys who can definitely take penalties. So I think Spain will be looking to beat them in the 90, and I think they will.
Yeah, okay. Right, Euro talk over.
Yeah.
Do you want to dive into some Scottish football?
Well, I mean, Scottish football is starting to come back. As much as the Euros, we'll put it this way, Scottish football is technically back before the Euros even finish, albeit just by a day, if my reference is correct. But yeah, Scottish football's back. Although I wouldn't say it's been too bad from a Celtic perspective. Ethan, we'll start with you. Celtic haven't had very much issues about half. They've still not got a keeper in, right?
Yep. Michael Nicholson was reminded of that at the Lesser Hampden yesterday, from a flat from a Celtic fan. You might have seen that video. But
I haven't, no.
not much going on in the Celtic transfer talk. I mean, it's definite the Celtic will sign a goalkeeper. I hope. Um,
Sorry, can I just jump in? Are you getting worried because it's less than a month to the
you
first
know,
day of the season? And I
you
know
know,
obviously Scott Bain's not bad, but do you really want to be starting your season that way?
I think there must be something that's behind the scenes that we don't know about, or there must be a reason why we haven't signed a Celtic. Sorry, haven't signed a player yet. There is definitely work to be done. Everyone knows that, and I think the club know that, and Brendan Rodgers knows that, and I think players will be signed. But they are starting to cut it a bit fine for the opening game against Kilmarnock. But I think along with our two loanees that we had last season, and Paulo Bernardo and Adamida, I think a goalkeeper will definitely come in. And the only really news is that crazy 6-4 scoreline against Queen's Park from the other night, and the news with Daniel Kelly. I don't know if any of you have seen that.
I saw he's probably leaving the club.
Yeah, he's Ben Rodgers pretty much made it clear to him and his agent if they hadn't signed a new contract by pre-season, he wouldn't be involved in pre-season with his contract expiring in December, and he hasn't signed a new contract, so he's not been involved. And you'd imagine he'll follow Rocco Vata and be another top academy graduate to leave Celtic before really playing.
Do you think Kelly could take the tactic of Lewis Ferguson and Aaron Hickey and try and look abroad, or do you think he'll go to another Scottish side, or is it another English side? I believe Rocco Vata is going to Watford,
Uh,
if I'm correct.
I
Um,
think um, the other day Fabrizio Romano was linking him to Bayer Leverkusen, which is
oh,
quite the
really?
compliment. And I seen he was. I'm pretty sure Ange Postecoglou was previously linked with him, taking him to Spurs.
Have I
So
just pulled that Watford rumour out of thin air, or?
no, no,
No, I
no, no.
think he's
Rocco
right
Vata
about
has played
that.
for
I think we're
Watford.
talking about Daniel Kelly,
All
aren't
right, you're talking about Daniel Kelly.
we?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Rocco
All
Vata's
right,
already away,
all right, okay, cool.
but
Um,
yeah, Daniel Kelly looks like he will be following suit.
I mean, I didn't know about the links to Leverkusen and potentially Spurs, but I mean, why would with Brendan Rodgers? I know Kelly isn't committed contractually, but why would Brendan Rodgers be looking to get rid of a youngster who he was, well, A, bedding into the first team, and B, has been linked with one of the best teams in Europe? Seems a strange one
uh,
to me from the outside looking
yeah,
in.
the only answer I can kind of think of is a Gucci belt, to be totally honest.
Uh,
Uh,
to be fair, I don't think it's Brendan Rodgers. I think Brendan Rodgers would love to have him at Celtic and love to have to work with him. He said after the match the other night and throughout last season how much he's loved working with him, and I'm like as a Celtic fan, I think I agree with Brendan Rodgers. If somebody's not committing to their future at the club when they've only got 6 months left on their deal, that shouldn't be a distraction within the squad. It should be you choose to play for Celtic further, or you don't play for Celtic and you go and find another club. And
yeah, well, perhaps he's been in talks with some of these bigger clubs leading up to the expiry of his contract.
yeah,
And maybe that sort of swayed him. Maybe his agent's been whispering in his ear, going, listen, mate, you've got opportunities here. Look at what Lewis Ferguson's done. Look at what Aaron Hickey's done. You know, in a couple of years, you could be in the Scotland squad. You know what I mean. So, um, I, you never know what's happening behind the scenes, but he's a talented young player, and I had the misfortune of getting twisted inside out by him a few times. Playing. I think he's from my area. I, I know I've played with him a couple of times because a friend of a friend, basically. And yeah, I'm, back then you could tell how good he was. That was like 3 or 4 years ago. But aye, it was yeah. I wish him all the best. So he's a from a couple of times I met him. He's a lovely guy, and if he wants to go abroad and he wants to follow in the footsteps, I think that's a good thing for the Scotland team as well. If they can go abroad and possibly turn out like your Fergusons or your Hickeys, and for the future of the Scotland team and Scottish football, I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, definitely. But that is really interesting about Daniel Kelly. I mean, I was reading reports earlier, but just a strange one. But I think what you say, Ethan, is right enough. If his contract runs out, well, at Christmas or thereabouts, the bet is getting something for him now. Maybe this makes sense. So Alex, has there been any news coming from Ibrox other than the fact the stadium and building site?
I believe since we last recorded, we've officially announced the signing of Hamza. Okay, I'm gonna Iga Igamani, or it's either Igamani or Iganami. I, th- I think it's Igamani.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, young Moroccan striker. I think we went over his profile. It's exciting, although I think Rangers fans are doing the classic, losing the plot before the season begins, freaking out about the recruitment. I think the reports are there's no immediate business to be done yet, but I think we will see a couple more players leave and come in the door. Perhaps at Ibrox. Obviously, a bit of news of a departure. Robby McCrorie going to your Kelly, Laurie. So I wish him all the best. I think he's going to do well, and he's a good goalkeeper. Although I heard he had a bit of a howler in his debut in a friendly against local rivals, Air United.
Yeah, so just to kind of comment on that. So first of all, as a Kilmarnock fan, I'm delighted that we've signed Robbie in the hope that he can take his chance to actually be a top flight number one. Hopefully, with it releasing a little bit. But I mean, it's it's difficult being a third choice goalkeeper. So he's in the right. Almost it feels like to have this opportunity, and of course, for him, it's as much as Glasgow's not exactly far away. It's a move closer to home as he's from Ayrshire as well. So
Yeah.
good for him. And as for last night, as we record this, so Ayr United and Kelly played each other in a friendly. I mean, a friendly derby, is that really a thing? But Robby McCrorie did struggle, particularly with Ayr's first goal. So Ayr United beat Kilmarnock 3-2, by the way. You can find the goals on Ayr's Twitter. And, and yes, Robby McCrorie did kind of struggle. And some Kelly fans have been a little bit harsh and been saying things like they want Will Dennis back already. But it's like what you were saying about Rangers fans kind of criticising the recruitment before the season starts. I mean, Roy McCrorie signed for Kelly on the Wednesday and played on the Thursday. So he probably had one training session with the team, if if he was lucky. But one thing that's really important for Ron McCrorie that hasn't really been spoken about is he's worked with our goalkeeping coach before. So Kilmarnock's goalkeeping coach is Fraser Stewart, or the brother of Colin Stewart, who is the Rangers goalie coach. So he's obviously worked with him, and Fraser Stewart used to be the goalie coach for the Scotland under 21s when Robbie was in there. So obviously
So he knows him well then.
he knows him well. So I think he'll be a good signing, despite the
Yeah.
shaky start.
Yeah, I think a bit of confidence building is needed there. But see, to be honest, from when he's played for us, he's usually been brilliant, and I think he's just been unfortunate. Um, in his time at Rangers, the two number ones he's been behind has been Alan McGregor and then Jack Butland. That two of the best goalies we've probably seen in Scottish football for a good while. Jack like his Jack Butland, people didn't really they weren't sure about him. You're always wary when you get these free transfers from guys who used to be good in like the top flight of England. But he's been brilliant for us. But yeah, Robby McCrorie, I think he will succeed at Kilmarnock. Laurie, you'll be happy to hear. Um, and yeah, I think it's a great signing. I don't know if I'm showing a bit of bias, but because he's from came from Rangers, but I think he will be a fantastic signing, and I think he'll help you. And he builds on already been what's been quite a good transfer window for Kilmarnock, and that'll be the building blocks for another successful season for Derek McInnes's men.
Yeah, fingers crossed. I don't think it is necessarily bias, Alex, because I see it as saying a bit of a coup for Kelly to have managed to attract him because you feel like some bigger clubs might have fancied him. And I'm not saying he's good enough for this, but I'm quite sure the media were reporting at one point that Man United were after Robby McCrorie, maybe to be sitting on a bench. I feel it was an old probably nonsense media story linking those two together at one point. I'll try and find it and shove it on the Twitter for a laugh. But but genuinely speaking, I did think maybe some bigger clubs would be after him. Just think, say, I don't know, it's a bit hypothetical, but say, like, I don't know, if Craig Gordon was retiring, to say, from Hearts, you know,
Well,
would,
I think they've got a solidified number one in the already there. No,
well, we're supposed to do it with Xander Clark, but then who did he have below him? Albeit, would
I
Rory McCrorie want to be a number two?
I don't think he would. I think the whole point of this move is for him to finally get regular first team football. By the way, have you seen any talk of what the potential fee is, or um,
And unfortunately, no. All Kilmarnock are saying is undisclosed fee. I mean, as is pretty standard these days. Um,
I'd imagine it's probably quite high for yous though. I
yeah,
just from what I'd maybe want for him as a Rangers supporter. Um, I don't know what would be within your financial. I know it's probably nowhere near £1 million because that would be a big shell out for Kilmarnock, but
yeah.
maybe between somewhere between 500 and 700 grand. I don't know.
I, I would go. I'll be honest. I would go considerably less than that because
Really?
I think Kelly's club record is something like 250,000 from the 90s. So I would go significantly less. I think it was a
Oh
few
wow.
others we would have said. So
Do you
yeah.
think?
Oh, here on, sorry to interrupt, on FootMob, I know this isn't the most reliable for transfers, but it says 344,000.
So
That's a
that would be a club record fee then.
Yeah, so it's probably less than that. So Roy McCrorie, not as expensive as you might think. Well, it could be said that Robby McCrorie has came to Kilmarnock to kind of build on his European experience being at Rangers. I mean, he was, of course, well, at least in the travelling party, if not in the squad that went to Seville a few years ago. But of course, he wants to play in Europe himself and maybe keep a European clean sheet. You never know. Maybe I'm just being optimistic as a Kelly fan. I mean,
Ye-
Scottish teams in Europe don't tend to do all that well. The only team in recent years that have had any sort of real success is Rangers. And Alex wants to tell me something about the coefficient system.
yeah. So the UEFA coefficient rankings have just come out. Also, by the way, Laurie, thanks for reminding me about one of the worst days of my life. But
You're welcome.
yeah, the coefficient rankings have came out, and Rangers are 28th for coefficient points in Europe, and I just think although we haven't done it in the league and domestically, Celtic keep dominating in that sense. We've got our way in Europe, and a lot of the it's a bit ironic, like we got although it's going away after a season because of the Czech Republic, but we basically, well, sorry, Rangers basically dragged us into the automatic Champions League spot for Scotland. I Celtic are the only ones who've really benefited from that because Rangers can't do it domestically. But Rangers have done really well in Europe. They've received a lot of recognition. We've Rangers have we've become like a staple in the Europa League where you get those European sides that are always there or thereabouts, and um, get the tweets and all that, and get a bit of the spotlight that they've become sort of that on the Europa League pages and stuff like that. And I think Rangers are responsible for propelling Scotland into you up the European rankings recently. And no one misconstrue this as me saying Rangers are the best because we're not. We haven't done it properly in domestic football, but our runs in Europe and our performance, I need to stop saying we and our, but yeah, their runs in Europe and their performances have really brought Scotland up through the rankings. And just to like put it into perspective, no other the next Scottish team are Celtic, and they're 41 places behind Rangers. And that, if you look to that and you saw, oh, that shows a real gap in quality, but it's not because Celtic have dominated the domestic scene for years. Um, they've been a better side, but they haven't managed to do it in Europe. And I think it goes all the way back to transfers and the board resting on it once they win the league. And I think that's why they've not maybe had as much success and won as many coefficient points as they could have in Europe. Ethan, if you want to just touch on that.
Yeah, I agree with most of what you said. I think lack of ambition would be just the phrase to go with this season, which kind of matches most for Celtic and their recruitment. I think there's just not enough. The board don't seem to care enough to really make those signings that are going to propel us into competing in the Champions League. By no means is any Celtic fan expecting Celtic to be going through as a top two team every season in the Champions League, but to at least
Show
make an effort.
something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and there's no debate about it. Qualifying out of a Europa League group is a lot easier than qualifying at a Champions League group, but there is no reason why Celtic can't compete for at least the third place in Champions League. Although it's not going to be that way anymore with the new system, which
Mm.
should be very exciting, I think.
That's an
But
interesting one. I think we should do a full deep dive into that.
Yeah,
Um,
we definitely should do a deep dive in it, but I would say just quickly and maybe get your opinion on this as well, lad. I kind of feel like the new UEFA competition system actually benefits Scottish teams,
yeah, definitely.
and then
Um,
we could at least get into the I don't know if I'm using correct terminology here, but I feel like Celtic or Rangers, or even a Hearts, say in the Conference League, could probably get into like the playoff round if that's the correct term.
yeah,
uh-huh. I'd agree with that. I think it could benefit because it's right. I've not really read up on it properly. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you play 8 times, uh, and they're all different sides, right? And it's like
Yeah,
a league table.
yeah,
yeah,
Um, and I think in those games you could really see teams like Rangers and Celtic and Hearts grab something, and get a point here or there, get a sneaky win. or we'll see stuff like in the past with Rangers, especially that in their run to the final of how Ibrox just blew teams away a lot of the time, and I think it makes it more exciting as well for the whole competition. You know, you're playing a different team every time, and I think it'll add to the atmosphere for clubs play for the clubs and the fans for these games. It, I think it's a more exciting format because it's not like because now you can't go, oh, we can maybe get something at home, go away and get a point. It's different opposition. You don't know what you're coming up against, and I think it's really exciting, and I think it could benefit Scottish teams.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And just to clarify our point about who actually qualifies. So in terms of how it works, so teams who finish in the top eight of league phase will qualify automatically for the last 16, whilst those who place themselves between 9th and 24th will compete in a two-legged knockout playoff for a chance to get into the last 16. And those who finish 25th or below are heading home. If you're in the Champions League, you don't go to the Europa League. And if you're in Europa, you don't go into the conference.
I think that makes it better as well,
Yeah,
because I've never really liked the fact that Champions League teams can drop into the Europa and win it. I just think it sort of it invalidates the whole point of the tournaments. Um, with it's supposed to be the top tier all go against each other, second tier all go against each other. Now with the Conference League, the third tier all go against
yeah,
each other, and you see who's the best. Um, and yeah, and you're saying the 9th to 24th go into those playoff rounds. That's realistic for Rangers and Celtic, and for
definitely.
Hearts in the conference or Europa, depending on how they get on. But I think it is for all the sort of big hitters in Scotland. It's realistic for them. I don't think Kilmarnock are quite there yet. Unfortunately, Laurie, they need to try and get their way through the qualifiers, which I don't. I'm sorry, mate, but I
No,
don't think
no,
they're going to. Um,
no,
Show
it's
a bit of optimism.
I mean,
what would you say, Ethan?
Show a bit of optimism in our game.
What do you mean up to? Like,
to
come
be
on, it's
fair,
just it's
I'm not
the
that optimistic
Yeah,
either. So. So obviously Kelly are in a not bad position having finished fourth in the Premiership last year, meaning that we go into Europa League qualifying, second qualifying round, playing obviously Cercle Bruges of Belgium. We're at home first, and it was confirmed yesterday as we record this that our first leg will be live on the BBC, so we'll probably have a national audience watching us. Will we lose to the Belgians? I mean, who knows? We might be okay-ish at Rugby Park, but I imagine when we travel to Bruges on the 1st of August, when I say we, I'm not going, but when Kelly goes over there, I suspect the away tie will be more difficult. However, even if we lose that tie, we go into the third qualifying round of the Europa Conference League, and of course, St Mirren are in Conference League qualifying. They go into that at the second round. Um, they'll find out their opponents. St Mirren will find out their opponents if there's any Paisley buddies watching. So they'll find out their opponents next week after the conclusion of the tie between, excuse me if I get the team name wrong, um, Valencia of Albania, and they're playing against Valar, who are from Iceland. The first leg, which took place in Iceland, finished 2-2, so the winner of that will face a trip to Paisley. So, um, well, maybe we're more of a chance than men. Remember fighting chance in the Conference League, but we're not getting group stage football. Plus, and I'm going to say this, it might annoy some Kelly fans, but you know what? I'm saying it. If we were to get into the Conference League groups, or the league phase now, sorry, um, we would possibly end up doing an Aberdeen, and then from last season. So I would rather avoid that.
Yeah.
I think
Although Aberdeen showed some fight, and I remember, I think me and Ethan and another friend were watching their game at home against Pauk, and we couldn't believe how they blew it. It
Yeah,
was,
that game was unbelievable.
yeah, some game. Um, just before we wrap it up, I want to just obviously it's not. I'm not going to lie, I'm not as big on this as I have been on the Euros, but the Copa America has been going on. Finals this weekend. Argentina against Colombia. We'll just do a wee quick score prediction and then we'll wrap it up for this episode. So for me, I think Argentina will win. I think they've just been by far the best. You can see the quality they've got, and they just seem like by far the best side in the competition. I think a side that could have rivaled them was Uruguay, but Colombia managed to get past them. Colombia have been quite good as well, but James Rodriguez with a bit of a revival. However, I think Argentina will prevail, and I think they'll win 2-0. Laurie?
Yeah, so like you, I think Argentina will show their quality and get the result. Admittedly, I've not seen too much of the Copa America this year, but I mean, Argentina are just an excellent side. So I'm gonna say Argentina 3, Colombia 1.
um, I'll go for. Um, I think it'll be a close game. I think there won't be much in it. Argentina have been, as Alex said, probably the best team, and Colombia have made their way through. Although they did thrash Panama 5-0 in the quarterfinals, to be fair, but I do think they wedge it, and I think they wedge it on penalties. They've got a good recent history on penalties. Argentina, I think they'll win on penalties after a one each draw.
Sorry, I just saw this thing pop up. So it's about the Euros. Due to a UEFA rule change, if Harry Kane and Danny Olmo fail to score on Sunday, the Euros Golden Boot will be shared between 6 players. Harry Kane,
Yes.
Jamal Musiala, Danny Olmo, Cody Gakpo, Gakpo. Whoops. George's Mika. Oh God.
McFadden, Georgian player. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one. Cheers, Laurie. And Ivan Schranz. Um, I do not know who he is. Who
No,
does he?
don't know that one.
Scored against
Slovak.
England.
All right, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, so it will be shared between those 6 players. Just before we finish up, just want to throw that in. That's odd, isn't it?
Very. I
Yeah.
mean, I've heard of golden boots being shared between like 2 players. I'm sure that happened in the EPL not so long ago. But
Yeah.
what I would guess maybe something like Harry Kane and Mo Salah, something like that.
I
Before Alan came along.
It
Um,
was. I'm pretty sure it was Aubameyang and Son and Salah all shared it that
No, I
season.
think
they
I
all
think it
shared
was Mane though. Was it not Mane instead of Salah?
Oh yeah, it was Mane.
possibly.
Was
Yeah.
Mane.
Anyway, I've heard that it's been shared between 2 players, but 6, that's a bit too much. Come on.
Yeah, that is a bit
Is
nuts,
then
but
like I don't know what the stats are for the goalkeepers, but are we sharing the golden glove between a bunch of goalies as well?
well, I don't know. I don't know if there'll be if teams are tied for clean sheets or not. But
Yeah,
I think
like
France have got the most on 4, I think. Spain have got 3, so it could be
is
tied.
yeah, but that is a funny one. Although I think Harry Kane or Danny Olmo probably will score um, on Sunday. But just a wee interesting one there before we finish up.
Yeah. That probably highlights that there's been no real poster boy or standout of this tournament. Really, it's been
No, no, it's been strange, hasn't it?
Yeah, and it has been a very weird tournament to watch. As a fan, even when Scotland were out of it, even when Scotland were in the tournament, there was no real games. There was very few games. There's been a few now, but there's been very few games that I would say I've actually really enjoyed. I mean,
Yeah. I think the groups were really good overall. Knockouts have been guff up until the semis. Both the semis were really good.
yeah,
So, but aye, but yeah, sorry, Laurie.
yeah, yeah.
I just
The semis have been really strong, which is what you would expect from the kind of end of a tournament. But I mean, this is maybe just me being a little bit critical or a bit, negative here. But like, it feels like the tournaments went on for ages. Maybe it's worse for me because I was at the very first game, obviously, the hosts against, of course, themselves, Scotland. But that feels like forever ago when I was
Mhm.
at the Allianz. I went from the Allianz Arena to Somerset Park in less than a month. I mean,
Yeah,
no. I agree. I agree with you, Laurie. I agree with you. It does feel like it's dragged on possibly a wee bit.
uh-huh. I know I keep doing this before we finish, but I've just seen something else. Aberdeen take disciplinary action as Duke goes AWOL.
yep,
Aberdeen say they are taking disciplinary action against Duke after the Cape Verde forward failed to report to training and is currently absent without permission.
yep. So I did hear about that just before we came on air, and Duke's a weird one. He was well really good the season before last, but last season his form just fell off a cliff. But obviously he's angling for a big move somewhere. But going AWOL was never the right way to go about it, is it?
No,
Yeah.
I'm I'm
And
sorry, but my feed just keeps popping up with interesting stuff. Scott Arfield signed for Bolton Wanderers.
there you go. Not a bad signing for Bolton. And also just last thing I want to do. So if it two mentions for Cape Verde on the pod tonight. I mean, I did go there on holiday once as well, so that's free. There you go.
Yeah. All right. So, what do you think of that, boys? Should we wrap it up there?
Yeah,
Yeah,
let's
I think we've
let's
covered
call
it.
it a night there. We'll get back in the dugout soon, of course. And sure there'll be plenty more transfer action and much more. Of course, we'll try and be a little bit more active on the Twitter, but so be sure to follow us and engage on there at the Dugout 2024. And feel free to subscribe to the YouTube channel as well as you're listening. So, until next time, bye for now.